let them know.
Welcome to Saturdays in Canada here with Blackhawk Wes on the Sports Betting Channel. Hey, Wes, everything that I think I said to people about the quality of XFL versus the USFL versus the CFL came into play in week one. It's pretty good football, and we were pretty good at it.
We had a great week, and it's fun. The crowds in the stands, just you can see the years, decades of support for the teams and the people and their colors. The crowd and the fan participation's got a way different feel than XFL, USFL. I think those fans are just going for something to do. But we got Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. We didn't lose anything. The listeners they got our game picks. There was live action plays, and overall the week finished 8-2. So when you got to get to day 4 before losing a game, I'd call that a pretty darn good week.
Yeah, and let's do that. Let's start with the first game, the first game of the weekend, and that was of course Thursday night. And what I did is I got some clips here, just a little clip here.
Calgary is the better team. Make no mistake about it, Calgary is the better team. But I think this is the spot where you take the points, you take the 3.5.
All right, so we started off with the money line dog, and that's the other thing that doesn't really count into against the spread records. I always chuckle when you look at against the spread records because they, in baseball, fine example, you could be 3-1 if you're betting pitchers and lose money.
Yes, you can.
You're 3-1 and you're betting money line dogs, you're going to do a little better than 75%. So, but one of the things that as remember, this is just the second week of a full Saturdays in Canada. Before we kind of shortchanged it, we covered it a little bit Thursday night when we were doing Sports Betting Weekly, and then a little bit on Wake and Bake. One of the things that we're doing is kind of figuring out how we go. But I thought about it as I was putting this stuff together for today that we really should look at these games individually and talk about what happens. And that's what I think we'll do. Let's just talk this first segment. We'll talk about what happened. Why were we right? And when we were wrong, why were we wrong? And so let's talk about this first game. What did we learn with this first game?
So, I was concerned that the uncertainty of the changeover from Nathan Rourke and the kind of performance he had last year at quarterback and changing over to another quarterback, and they lost their starting running back to another team. And Butler was a dual threat running back, catching the ball out of the backfield. So, and then looking at Calgary, our concerns were Calgary can get off to a slow start. In seasons, they typically come on mid-season and come on late, and not having Bo Levi Mitchell in the locker room and having Mayer be the full-on starter, no questions there. I was comfortable taking points in that scenario, and as we saw, Vernon Adams Jr. He just came out and what a half of football! I think he threw 8 passes for completion before he even missed one. So. BC just went up big, and they settled down in the second half, but they weren't going to give up that lead.
No, and again, when you look at the quarterbacks, he was one of the ones that we weren't sure about, and he played really well. I mean, he had just a phenomenal game. He was 27-35, 77%, 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and 107 QBR. So you can't ask for more than that.
For me, that was the biggest takeaway, that BC, if they come out the way they did this past week, they will not miss a beat at quarterback. They're going to need to find a little bit more answers at running back, but their quarterback shoes have been filled.
All right, so let's look what happened after that, the next night, Saturday.
The play here, and this is a money play on my 151 or on my Chicago Options Trader group. We're laying the points. We're laying 4.5 on Winnipeg.
Yeah, so we knew Winnipeg coming in was going to be the team to beat. Of course, they're the top seed. They're the preseason favorite to win the Grey Cup. They've won 2 of the last 3. So they're going for 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4, and I don't care what you're doing. Well, 3 out of 4 last week for us. Yeah, 3 out of 4 is pretty good. Is there any way what we saw was an anomaly and they're not as good as we thought?
So that game, Winnipeg had it under total control. I think the anomaly was the second half and the way that Winnipeg's second half at home, your easy sports data would say that doesn't happen. At home, they shut the door and in the second half, and that's it. I think them allowing as many points as they did, that happened through special teams. That happened through in the second half. And Jackson Jeffcoat, one of the star players on defense for Winnipeg, he didn't play the second half. It wasn't an injury. They just put him on the bench. We got this under control. So I don't think Winnipeg's in trouble going forward. And they still won the game pretty big and hung 40 points. So I think that Coach O'Shea is going to get on them. And going forward, we won't see that version of Winnipeg anymore. I don't think that it would be wise to overstate what we saw out of Hamilton because those points were special teams driven. They did not get great quarterback play. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you got the stats in front of you. I think Bo Levi Mitchell threw 2 or 3 interceptions in that game. I knew he threw more than 1. I just don't remember if the number was 2 or 3.
Yeah, he was 17 to 33, which, is not going to win you too many football games. 1 TD, 2 picks. QBR 55. Now, 55. What is 55 is good for a lot of things, right? But quarterback rating is not one of them.
No, sir.
All right, so then, and I remember that was a game that I kind of, I have a life. When I think I'm winning, I kind of move on with my life. I've told you guys that before, and then all of a sudden it was interesting, and then I didn't want it to be interesting, and that's when you had told me there were some special teams issues. So let's go to Saturday.
What I'm looking at as a fan is what version of Cody are we going to see? We know their run game's going to show up. Montreal's got a tremendous run game, and Stanback was out a good amount of the season last year, which built their depth. Their 2-3 is every bit a worthy starter in this league. So Montreal is got a really good run game, and this is a team that very well could have been in the Grey Cup last year. So
yeah, and they played well.
Well, I'm smiling for a lot of reasons in that game because the league is better when Cody Fajardo is playing good ball. But what appears to be a new go-to threat wide receiver came from The Ohio State, Austin Mack. 4 completions. I want to say the number was 130 or 140 yards. He just caught some big balls that were thrown by Cody. So I really like what we saw in Montreal actually showed up on defense a little bit. Stanback didn't have his biggest game, but he didn't need to. He can put up 100 yards, and 100 yards in the CFL football game for a running back is probably equal to an NFL 160, just because the nature of the game, and if you're not getting big yardage running the ball. So I think we learned that they got their guy at quarterback. If this can stay consistent, Montreal is a contender.
Yeah, in the CFL, you can't pound it 3.5 yards 3 times in a row and get the first down like you can in the NFL, because if you don't get it on that third down, guess what? The other team gets the ball because it is 2 and out. 2 and out. It was the first time in months that I heard 2 and out, yeah. and I laugh because 2 and out is a concept we're not used to here, on the south of the border. And then, of course, finally, we have the one game that basically, in my opinion, we kind of dropped the ball.
Just a great loser, just a losing loser that's never going to win. That's more valuable than trying to find a winner. And last year, Edmonton was that team for us. And you just bet against them. Bet against them, lay the points, lay 11. It doesn't matter. It's Edmonton. They're going to lose. They're going to blow it.
You want to know what their spread record for us was last year against the spread?
What is it?
2-16.
So if you reverse it and you were on the other side, that means
16-2, baby.
You won 16-2.
Yeah, and again, don't get me wrong. They are who we thought they are. I got to get that clip. I think I got the playoff clip we could use down the road. It's too early for the playoffs, but they are who we thought they are, right?
So I really struggle with this one because it's not that they lost because, just bet against them and lay the points, bet against them, and you're going to win, right? I mean, that's what the numbers say, and numbers don't lie. But the way that they lost this game is a really hard one to swallow. It's not the loss. It's not the units. We had a winning week. We can cover it. They were on the 1 yard line. Their defense came up with a key turnover when they needed it, which is exactly what you need a team making improvements to do. They then are on the 1 yard line, and the coach pulled QB1 and tried 3 straight, just fall forward with the quarterback with QB2. 3 straight on the goal line and didn't get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and again, remember, if you're not familiar, the rules are a little different where the defensive lineman can line up in the CFL. It's very difficult to not get a blank and one, a first and one, a second and one, a third and one. It's hard to not do it because as long as your center basically takes that yard that they've already given him, they're a yard away. So, it was a tough one.
This one was not Edmonton-Elking. This was real close. They had the game. When we called it out, they were dogs. At kickoff, they were favorites. Wouldn't that be great if we were the ones moving the line?
4.5-point line swing compliments of Black Hawk West. All right, so when we get back, we're going to hop right into week 2. You're listening to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel.
Your Georgia Bulldogs are back-to-back national champions. Here's the coolest present any Georgia football fan will open that day, guaranteed. These full-size NCAA licensed full-color souvenir footballs celebrate all 4 of Georgia's national championships. The top panel of these limited edition footballs have the 3 previous titles with all the game information from the 2022 championship. The second side has the score from every regular season game, and the Peach Bowl win is part of a perfect season. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Georgia Bulldogs fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel. Now, we just saw that Georgia football during the break, and it's so exciting because, again, it's championship footballs. It's not you had a pretty good season footballs.com. So when we talk to our customers, they're all in such a good mood. And that's kind of how I was all weekend. My wife was saying to me, you're in a good mood. I said, well, you know what? We haven't had a loser since we started the show on Wednesday. This is like Saturday night. And so at some point in time, maybe we'll go back and we'll keep track of the record. I have never really been a keep track of the record kind of guy. First of all, I'm not a handicapper. You're not technically a handicapper either. We're just good at what we do. And so those stats are really important for somebody like John from GMF Sports Consultant who's out there helping other people with their plays. But for us, I think that at some point we probably will keep a running total because when you're up over 65, 70%, remember, sports betting is a game where if you fail almost half the time, you're doing pretty good. How sick is that?
Yeah, that's about what it is because the juice and shopping for the right shopping for the right spreads and lines and odds is even better. Minus 110 versus minus 105 or even 115. That'll get you over the course of. I mean, we had 10 plays this weekend. We were on the 4 games, but then there was some live action, and you just figure out what your unit size and you give up 5%. That matters.
No doubt about it. All right, so first game of the week, Thursday night, 7:30, Calgary at Ottawa. It is 43.5, and the home team is getting 5. Let's talk about it.
So when I look at Calgary, I think that what they missed this past game, well, first of all, I mean, BC just jumped all over them. I mean, they jumped all over them. There was nobody that was going to slow them down. They showed up a little bit in the second half, but I think the biggest missing piece with Calgary and why they didn't put up more points, Kadeem Carey didn't do anything in the pass game, and he is, top three, no matter what do you call him, 1, 2, or 3 running back in the CFL. And, he ran the ball well, but was not involved in the passing game at all. The wide receivers, they showed up. I think the balance was right, but Calgary is better than 15 points in any given CFL game. Calgary is usually good for close to 20 and sometimes, flirting with 30. So we can count on them to put up more points this week. I don't think we can count on Ottawa to put up more or much more than they just put up. So I think Calgary being treated the way they were by Vernon Adams Jr. in the first half, they will come out. They'll come out correct. They're going to want to get a lead, and I don't think that they give it up. I'm going to lay the points here and take Calgary. Ottawa can be a tough place to play. I just don't think Nick Arbuckle and this Calgary offense has the personnel to score 24 points, which is what it's going to take to be Calgary.
Okay. I'm looking at numbers, and I got to tell you, first of all, Calgary has got to have a chip on their shoulder after last week, right? We already talked about that. Listen to these numbers. I can't make this stuff up. On the road, last 16 games, Calgary 14-2. At home, Ottawa 2-14 against the spread. Ottawa has not. They haven't won at home against the spread since 11/6/21, November 6th of 2021.
And shy of a coaching change, there was not a lot of major roster moves that would make us believe any different than what that data shows.
All right, so Friday, 9:00, Winnipeg at Saskatchewan. Wow, that was said well. Wasn't that said clearly?
Don't do it again. Give up. You got it.
47.5, and the home team getting 6, another home dog.
Yeah, and this one, don't be fooled on either side. Sask was given that game. Trevor Harris did not perform incredibly well at quarterback against Edmonton, who, if the Edmonton is the Edmonton that we know, and they just put up a good game for us this past week, then this performance by Sask is really nothing. The yardage by Morrow, that was late in the game when they were trying to kill the game. And again, Edmonton, while I last week thought they would be improved, I still didn't think that they were going to show up and hold a running back like Morrow to under 50 yards. So don't be fooled by what Sask did. They were given a gift by a poor coaching decision, and don't be fooled by the points that Winnipeg gave up. That was some really good special teams plays, and one of their best defenders on the sideline. And Winnipeg is very well coached. And, I don't know if you saw the broadcast, but at the beginning of the game, they were showing the panel of awards winners that were top in the league for something, and there were 4 of them in that Winnipeg locker room. Best coach, most outstanding player, defensive or offensive rookie of the year. Winnipeg is going to cover this spread, especially coming off of a second-half performance like they just had. So I'm going to lay the 6. We're on 2 favorites so far, road favorites. But I think these are probably the easiest games to see the results of the week.
Yeah, and I think really if you say that the Calgary's going to have a chip on their shoulder because of what happened, that second half is going to leave in Winnipeg's taste in the mouth. This is going to be a bad one.
Yeah, and I have another play on this one. I'm going to take the under. I know Winnipeg just hung 40 points, but we're looking at 47.5 on the over-under. Just say Winnipeg's good for 35. Winnipeg's good for 30. I don't see Sask being able to, against that, what is going to be a very angry defense and a much more motivated special teams. I don't think Sask can put up more than 17, and I think Winnipeg's probably good for 30. Teams don't hang 40 very often, so I think Sask is not going to see the end zone, but once maybe accidentally, and so I like the under 47.5 as well here.
All right, so we're going to go to break. We're going to talk when we get back about the next couple of games. But one of the things I want you to do is pay attention to the Kansas City Chiefs spot that's about to come up. You're listening to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel. Your Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions. Here's the coolest present any Chiefs fan will open that day guaranteed. These full-size, NFL licensed, full-color souvenir footballs celebrate all three of Kansas City's Super Bowl titles. The top panel of these limited edition footballs has logos and scores from the first two championships with all the game information from the Super Bowl 57 win. The second side has the score from every regular season and playoff game. These footballs make an incredible gift for your favorite Kansas City Chiefs fan, even if it's you. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. With thousands of buyers across the country, you'll always get the most amount of money for your bet on PropSwap. So hurry to PropSwap while it's early and grab a ticket or two. The odds are always the highest right now. It really does pay to get in early. Go to PropSwap.com or download the free PropSwap app today. PropSwap is where America buys and sells sports bets. Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada here on the Sports Betting Channel with our friend Black Hawk West. It says Black Hawk West, which could confuse people when I tell you that our Kansas City Chief balls have arrived in the States, and sooner or later you're going to have one of those. I guess you're going to have two of them then. You're going to have a pair.
Twins.
You're going to have twins. And of course, at the rate that quarterback's going, you might have 4 or 5 kids in that family by the time you're done. But they really are. They really are. They're an exciting team to watch, no doubt about it.
And those footballs are exciting. It's the feeling you get when your team wins. You get a little piece of it back every time you walk past that football on the shelf.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Championships last forever. You're absolutely right. So when we get to Saturday night's game, it's the Elks again, Edmonton. This time, of course, they're on the road. They're at BC. It's 46, and BC is -7.
So last year in the NFL, there was a moment with the Denver Broncos where I believe they kicked like a 64-yard field goal or attempted it, and Russell Wilson was on the sideline. It was early in the season. I remember walking away from that saying, that was the worst coaching decision I've seen of the season. I will not bet with them ever again for the rest
that
of
was the
season.
opener. That was the opener, and that was week 1. They were saying, and they ended up firing him a few weeks later, right?
Yeah, I think he got to like week 4 or 5, but I mean, there was a moment in that Edmonton game, and I know I'm beating this dead horse. I know I am. Broken record alert. But the coaching decision when you have a game 1 to not even let QB1 do a rollout or throw it. This is the CFL. That end zone is 20 yards deep. You can throw a 30-yard bomb from the 7-yard line and score. So that was such a bad decision. I am now questioning, and their defense played good. Now they didn't play, hang 25 on Calgary. They didn't play good enough to prevent that kind of performance out of BC. So I think you got to lay the points here. I think it's extreme, but I think that BC just beat Calgary by double digits. And so you got an Edmonton defense who played okay, but not that great, going up against the best quarterback performance of the week, I think for sure, percentage-wise, there's no question. Zach Claris played well, but the performance we saw out of VA is the best of the week. And now you got a coach, who knows what number this guy's going to call. And I'm not willing to put money on it. I'm not willing to take 7. I don't even think I would take 9 in this game. So BC is off to the start that they were last year. They just got to figure out running back. So late 7.
Well, but he made some plays with his legs as well, that kid.
He did, and he is a mobile quarterback. Vernon Adams Jr. is a former Oregon Duck. And he was a quarterback for the Oregon Ducks like one or two guys after the Marcus Mariota, after, the 70 points a game. Don't worry, Oregon will cover 43. Like he was a part of the ending of that regime. So he has legs, he has an arm, and he can read the field really quickly, because you remember the Oregon Ducks, they wanted to run like 65 plays a game, I think was their strategy. So that's where he comes from.
All right, so I'm going to throw three numbers at you. Are you ready?
Do it.
59, okay? 59, 46, 31. Those are the points in the three games last year that BC put up on it, Edmonton.
And almost no change at the quarterback position. I mean, seamless transition.
All right, so when we come back, we're going to you know what? I forgot to tell you. I caught a 420 on one of our games. I got the screenshot. I was at dinner. Well, what's this? What are you doing? I think I'm getting a 420 here. She knew exactly what I meant, because in our house, the 420 contest has been going on for years. You never won any prizes. But, I'll be in the kitchen, and my son will say, "Hey, Dad, how much time's left in the game?" And I'll have to go around to check it out. Oh, it's 420. And it was, I forget what game it is. I'll have to look it up and talk about it. But, yeah, so the contest is pretty cool. You don't have to be a handicapping genius. You just got to be able to pay attention.
420. I love that number.
All right, so when we come back from break, we're going to talk about the Sunday night's final. Pay attention to the Wana gummies. I actually gave away some of my Wana gummies because there was a friend and they needed gummies. I had them. But those are the ones I can only get when I go visit John in Vegas, because they don't sell them here in San Diego. So, I was like, giving them one and then, okay, two. Normally I would just hand them out. I can get more, but I can't get more of those. You're listening to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel.
In a world where most cannabis gummies are hashy, melty, or just plain gross, one brand will rise up to forever change what an edible can be. Vegan and gluten-free ingredients, 30-plus terpenes, and a melt-proof recipe star in Wana. Not all edibles are created equal. Now in theaters. Dispensaries.
Hey, it's Leaf.
Hello, and we're here to tell you about our Wake and Bake Twitter contest. You don't even need to be a great handicapper to win.
This one is so easy, even I can win.
That's right, Leaf. Anybody can win. All you have to do is...
Can I do the disclaimer?
Leaf, the disclaimer is at the end.
Sorry.
All you have to do is take a screenshot of any game that you're watching where the clock has stopped at exactly 4:20.
420. I love that number.
We know you do, Leaf. Now please let me finish.
Sorry.
If the clock stops at 4:20 during any game you're watching, take a screenshot showing the clock and tag Chaz on Twitter with the picture.
Go to @secondhalfchaz, add the picture, and you're in.
You'll be entered in a drawing for a $100 gift certificate at championshipfootballs.com.
Welcome back to Saturdays in Canada with Black Hawk West here on the Sports Betting Channel. So, Wes, it's funny because, we talk a lot, and I think the guys on Worldwide Sports Radio Network, they weren't really ready for how many winners we give them, because they have had guys on their show before that, 2-1, 1-2, 1-2-1, that kind of thing. And then, of course, you went 3-1 the first 4 weeks you were on the show. So you going 3-1. The first week of the CFL season is just exciting for me, because I know down the road it's going to even get more of that, because, as you mentioned, there was some live action. There weren't a lot of opportunities. The live action was slow. The in-game movement, I noticed it's early in the season, and they're protecting themselves because there are people who will take advantage of that. They have the lower limits early in the season on a lot of plays. But where will you be in the season when you start looking at Grey Cup futures? Because congratulations, you had tickets on Denver. And though you didn't win the NHL, you're still probably running about I don't know, 65% in the last, 8 or 9 futures. I think you've hit 6 or 7 of them,
Yeah, well, and the NHL, I mean, there you can manage that. If you have enough futures or parlays, when, if you go back far enough and there's enough time on it, you and I exchanged messages. I cashed a good portion of my parlay future on Florida going into it, just not knowing. So what I left on the table was opportunity. As far as Grey Cup, right now I'm on Montreal at plus 1,200. I'm going to make a change. I'm not adding to it, but preseason, I did a few of my, let's bet on Denver to cover the spread tonight, and we'll just parlay some of that with Montreal winning the Grey Cup. And so there's some floaters out there. I think we probably got 7 or 8 of them, but it's when I feel like the value is going to start to decline. There's no value on Winnipeg. There's not going to be value on Winnipeg. The only value you're going to find there is parlaying it with something, but it's just not going to be there. So right now I'm looking at Montreal, but probably somewhere around August last year, September, beginning of September, when Winnipeg started to put players on the bench is when I started to feel Toronto. And so probably around August and September is when we'll feel it again. And then I might make an adjustment. We might, quarterback goes out. Well, I'm not going to add to that anymore. Let's pick another one.
Yeah, it really is. It's like any league. If your quarterback isn't a top quarterback, you don't have a shot. So,
yeah.
All right. So Sunday night, Hamilton at the defending champion Toronto. It's weird that they gave the defending champions the first week off. You would think they would kind of pumping that up, but the schedule is the schedule. It's 46.5, and Toronto is given 1.5 in their season opener.
So there's a lot going on here. McLeod Bethel-Thompson is no longer playing as the starting quarterback for the Grey Cup champion Toronto Argos. He is in the USFL, and it's an odd decision. At least Nathan Rourke went and probably quadrupled his annual take-home by being QB3 for the Jaguars. But this was an odd one. The quarterback that is taking over is no slouch. This is Chad Kelly, formerly from Ole Miss. This is the Hall of Fame Jim Kelly's nephew. So and he's been in the system. So this is a quarterback that knows what he's doing. I don't know that there's much decline, but there will be a change. When I look at this game, I'm a creature of my rules. And with the prime time in the NFL, the NFC East, in general, I do not like to bet on teams on the opening game coming off of a championship. And then when you add to this picture, Hamilton had a really bad first half and then made a run at a comeback, and they did hang some points on Winnipeg. So in this game, I am going to take Hamilton, and I'm going to take the points. Bo Levi Mitchell threw those picks that he did. We saw Butler almost silent, non-existent at running back for Hamilton. I don't think that this game is going to represent what Toronto will be. I'm not saying fade Toronto. I'm saying I like Hamilton and the points here because of all of those circumstances.
Yeah, the only thing that jumps out at me is when they played last year, Hamilton wasn't able to put up a lot of points on them.
And Hamilton is still pretty weak at wide receiver, and losing Dunbar does not help. But I think defensively, they're there. So, and again, it's one game. We're on all the favorites so far, and there's a lot of red flags here that tell me I need to take these points.
Yeah, and part of the win last week, I mean the offensive output for Hamilton last week was exaggerated a little if you look at the score, because as you said, it wasn't just from their offense.
Yeah, and if there was a scenario for a quarterback to get nervous, make a mistake, opening night, banner raising, probably, a packed house, taking over for just that kind of situation. If Chad Kelly were to make mistakes, I like that to happen in this game. All the pregame pageantry is going to go on, and Hamilton's on the sideline, mad, angry at the loss they're coming.
This is his first start since college, right?
I
Pretty
don't
sure
have
that's what they said. I think they said
it
that.
could be. It could be.
Yeah.
I'm not for certain, but I know he's seen game action.
But like you said, sitting around starting versus popping in the game when the game's going on is a little different from that mental aspect.
Yeah, it is, and I think that we'll see it. I mean, I think we probably would have saw a higher point spread had Hamilton not hung the points on Winnipeg that they did, and I would have been happier taking 3.5 or 3. But I think we got a shot at a dog outright here. The other games, there is absolutely no shot that the dog does anything, and I might be asking you to delete that statement here in a couple days.
Well, no, but again, we're going to get better as we go. We're going to get to know that the relationships between us and these 9 money-making machines that we have, we'll figure it out. I'm really comfortable with it, and it sure starting 3-1 sure beats starting 1-3.
Yeah, and I'll track the record. I always write them down because I like to look back to the dates and what exactly was running through my mind when I did that.
And that's really, I think the way we did it today, I think going forward, we should do that. We'll just take a little clip just to remind ourselves and anybody that's paying attention to us what was the thought process behind it and what did we learn? Because if you ain't learning, you're not doing anything, right?
Yeah, and I advise members, write it down for the week because I've had a handful of people, and I know John from GMF has coached this too. You go 3-1, but you didn't make any money. Write down the live action, your live action betting and the style and your deviation from unit management. And that might tell you exactly, where you're going wrong. Because baseline picks at 3-1, baseline picks at 4-2, that is not a losing week. It's all the garbage in the middle that you're not tracking that will cause you to be up or down. And you also got to be very careful if you lose a live action. If you go in for another one, you're now either creating a losing week or a break-even week where you were 0-0 before it even started.
Yeah, you should not. If your main picks were 3-1, your live action should have been taking advantage of those wins, not adding to the losses.
That is correct.
No doubt about it. Anything else before we go?
No, I'm looking forward to another great week. I'm excited to see Toronto back on the field. I hope they lose this week for our sake, and I think we're going to see the real Bombers this week, and I'm looking forward to it.
Another week of Canadian football, eh?
Always be cashing.
Always be cashing. We'll catch you guys next time.